My wife and I get into arguments all the time, and it's pretty normal for us. But, after the one we had today, I don't think I can continue being with her. My wife and I have been married for 4 years, and we have been together for 5 years. Our relationship started perfectly, but looking back, I think I might have been love-bombed. We fight about once every other week or so. And by fight, I mean blowout screaming that leads me to searching divorce lawyers online. After those fights, we calm down, and everything goes back to normal. We're an extremely close couple. We do everything together, and she's my absolute best friend. However, during these fights, things can get out of hand. She tends to be very verbally and emotionally abusive. I suffer from borderline personality disorder, and early on in our relationship, I would split during fights and take a swing at her. But, after therapy and counseling, that has stopped and hasn't been an issue at all. I'm 100% aware that physical abuse is unacceptable, and I got the help I needed to manage my mental health issues. Today we had one of those fights. Knowing her, she occasionally gets bored, and will be in the mood for an argument. Today, it was me not saying the word patronize properly. We bickered about how to pronounce it, which led to an even bigger fight about who was more educated. That led to her screaming at me that I was beneath her. We got to the gym, where we headed off before the fight, and things escalated. She shoved me, and I raised my arm to defend myself, but I didn't hit her. After a few minutes of screaming, we headed home, and things got extreme. I started by saying to her that I don't understand why she thinks I'm a horrible person, when she's had emotional affairs in the past. Then, I started insulting the girl she was friendly with. All these led to me getting punched in the leg, arm, bicep, neck, and face, all while she was driving. I was crying and leaning as far as I could away from her, and she told me I deserved to be hit because years ago, I hit her in a fight. She said it was payback for how I used to act. Here is the extreme part. We live near a large national park. Instead of pulling into our driveway, she started driving towards the national park. I was sobbing, telling her to turn around, but she was laughing. I kept saying, "Take me home. I want to go home." "Please turn around," she said. "Oh, I'm taking you home. It's going to be a different kind of home, though," and then she laughed. I threatened to call 911, but I had no cell service. She pulled into an empty parking lot for one of the hiking trails and kept taunting me. She was saying things like, "Are you nervous? And let's go on a hike." She reached for my throat, almost like she was kidding, but after being hit so much, I didn't find it funny. I begged and cried, but she just kept laughing. I begged her to take me home, and she pointed at a ditch and said, "How's that for home?" She took my phone and locked it. I kept screaming and crying, and she said, "What, you don't want to go on a hike with me?" Finally, I got out of the car, but there was nowhere to go. She told me to get back in so we could go home. She said, "I just wanted you to talk to me. Now you know how it feels, and we'll see if you'll insult me again." I was still crying and shaking, and she said, "This should be a lesson for you. Are you done insulting me now?" I told her she was sick, because no normal person does this sort of thing. She said, "No, I'm not sick. You're just overdramatic, and you always take things the wrong way. You know it was a joke, so I thought you'd be laughing. I can't even joke around with you." She just kept insisting that she was taking me there to hike because we skipped the gym session, and she assumed I'd just get out and hike. She keeps saying, "You know I'd never actually hurt you. Don't be ridiculous." She has severe anxiety and is bipolar, so I feel like I'm obligated to cut her more slack. However, this seemed too far this time. It's never been this bad.